Welcome back, everyone, to Black and Ritual. Today, we'll be talking about the father of gynecology and just a little bit history of medicine and how it impacted Black and Indigenous people of color, as well as other people as well. So, just a little background history. In the early 1800s, the U.S. and Great Britain signed the peace treaties for the importation of slaves. And James Morgan Sims was born January 25th, 1835, in Lancaster County, South Carolina. In 1832, James graduated from South Carolina College, and he began his studies in medicine at Jefferson Medical College in Philadelphia. Now, Sims did continue to further his studies and began to practice medicine in his hometown, South Carolina, where he eventually expanded his practice in Montgomery, Alabama, where he himself owned slaves. In 1845, James Morgan Sims conducted a series of experiments on enslaved Black women for the surgical treatment for vesical vaginal fistula. And many of us may be asking, what is this? What is a vesical vaginal fistula? I've never heard of this before. Maybe someone has, right? So, in general, a fistula is an abnormal passage or opening between an organ, a body, or a body surface, an organ and a body surface, or between two specific organs. So, a vesical vaginal fistula, this is an abnormal opening between the bladder and the vagina. So, if you look here, the bladder is here. So this is the bladder, and this is this is the anus, and then this is the vagina. So, and then as well as this is the uterus, and this is the cervix here. So there's an opening here between the bladder and the vagina, and some of the signs and symptoms that the women were experiencing were bladder leakages, and this is primarily caused due to obviously it was they were raped, beat, and they had difficult labors. They had very difficult labors, so it created this opening here where when their bladder is full, um, or just in general, they would just leak um, urine out of their vagina. So I'm pretty sure that was very complicated for them. So many may be asking, like, well, why is this so problematic? I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. He was trying to help, you know? And the issue here is that in 1846, the William T.G. Morton um, at the Massachusetts General Hospital, uh, began to develop the anesthesia. So he himself used sulfuric ether to anesthetize a man to perform neck surgery. And in 1846, it was available to the public, to surgeons specifically. And if you look at the timeline, well, if it was available in 1846, James Morgan Sims, he practiced, um, you know, the experiment on these black women from 1846 to 1849. So for 3 years, anesthesia was already available, and he chose not to utilize anesthesia available for black women. I mean, many may ask why. Oh, I mean, maybe it was cheaper, maybe whatever. So, but it was the fact that slaves did not have any rights, and he took advantage of what he already knew, right? He had already owned slaves before. So moving on. Um, in 1855, he practiced these methods on women, and then he just eventually moved to New York City, where he founded the Women's Hospital of New York. At the Women's Hospital of New York, he then began to treat European women, white women, with proper anesthesia, for whatever surgery that they needed. He was pretty much utilizing black enslaved women as a form of his residency, right, in medicine. So in 1861 to 1865, he actually left the U.S. to Europe during the Civil War. So this was during the Civil War he had left, right? 1861 to 1865. So eventually, about 11 years later, James Morrison returned to New York, and he was elected president of the American Medical Association. And that's in New York. And obviously, his those experiments, that practice that he had on those Black and Indigenous women of color, gave him recognition for these surgical treatments, and alleged the invention of the vaginal specula. But let's go on. And I know that many may be questioning, like, well, what is the vaginal specula? What is this? The vaginal specula is a duck bill shaped device that physicians, doctors, OBGYNs, nurse practitioners utilize to assess the inside of the vagina. So inside of the parts of the body to diagnose or treat certain vaginal diseases, or obviously to assess even for things like cancer. So this is what he alleged invented. And I say alleged because if we look, a woman by the name of Marie Ann Boivin, she was the true creator of the vaginal specula. Now, medical records, if we compare medical records versus national records, medical records solicited contributions from nearly 1,000 medical professionals to honor him, right? So they wanted to create a statue for his work in creating this vaginal specula. However, national records is showing that Marie Ann Boivin is the actual inventor of the female vaginal specula in the early 1800s. So he was not even born, right? He was born in 1813. So, but due to the constant injustices that occurs, that continuously happen even now to this day, and decades and centuries ago, women were not recognized for their inventions, for their power. So her work went unrecognized. Her work went unrecognized here. Now, many may be thinking, like, well, why are you showing her? She's not Black. Well, this, although it's Black in ritual, it is about justice, and that's one of our main core values. Okay. And I want everyone to really get the truth as to what is it, what is this medicine, what is Western medicine, and um, what what is our power, where is our power being taken and from, and where is our power rooted from, right? So I just want to share that regarding the vaginal specula, because that's what got him recognition for people to even want to raise money. So they raised money to create a monument in honor of James Morrison for his work, for the experiments that he conducted, the amazing surgeries that he was able to perform, as well as the alleged invention of the vaginal specula. Now, people in honor of him raised over $10,000 to get this monument created. And Ferdinand von Miller II, which he's from Germany, casted this statue in his honor. Now, there's been a lot of changes with this monument, but clearly it says down here, it is a bronze statue of the late Dr. John Morian Sims, erected in Bryant Park and presented to the city of New York on Saturday, October 20th by the subscribers of the fund. So this is medical records here, 1894. So in 1894, the monument was posted at Bryant Park in New York City, and the statue was located exactly near the American Medical Association on the grounds of Bryant Park in New York. Okay, so the just a little description and what people thought and how people would describe the statue and how I would describe it. So the statue depicted the patriarchal dominating power of men in the medical profession. The bronze statue captured the relative details of James Morian Sims' physiological characteristics, and the statue was stacked on granite pillars, evoking emotional familiarity of his fame and popularity gained through the exploitation of enslaved Black women. On the monument, it clearly reads Dr. James Morian Sims' birth year, 1813, to his death date year, which is 1883, and it is depicted as him being the father of modern gynecology. Okay. Right. So we know that this was going to draw in attention and things of that sort. And the statue began to provoke memories of James Morian Sims' work as a physician, adding wealth and adding to the European descendants of the Neanderthal race. And nevertheless, James Morian Sims' medical advancements achieved through the unethical, painful surgical practices of enslaved Black women, we knew that this would not stand the grounds in 21st century. So this began to get people to pay attention. So eventually, the statue was relocated from Bryant Park in the early 1920s. It was due to the subway, New York subway infrastructure. So the building of the subway near Bryant Park caused for the statue to be relocated to Central Park. And Sims has been subject to much discussion with some condemning his medical practices, and with others defending his records within the context of his time, right? So like, okay, well, anesthesia was not available. Well, it was available for 3 years in which he, 3 out of 4 years in which he performed these experiments on these Black and Indigenous people of color. So the monument was then installed in opposite of the New York Academy of Medicine, which provoked feelings of disgust, rage, and trauma amongst Black and Indigenous people of color, as well as other opposers, of his philosophical practices. So, stay alert, stay alive, right? In 2017, Black and Indigenous people of color and opposers of the father of gynecology protested, petitioned, and became vocal about the removal of James Morian Sims' monument, his statue. So the statue was then created. The widespread criticism was pronounced, of his legacy and how he achieved his wealth through the exploitation of vulnerable populations, and now at odds with our contemporary values and ethics in 2018, it eventually was removed. So, as I said, um, Black and Indigenous people of color protested and had this monument removed. So they were very vocal about it. These women out there um, protested, protested in New York Central Park. So eventually, in April, so it only took about 4 months, right? So from January 2018, uh, the protests went on, and 2000 April 2018, the monument was then eventually relocated and removed. It was removed from Central Park and relocated to Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, where his gravesite is. Okay, so this is the removal of his statue, and this was a mayoral advisory commission on the city art and monuments and markers. So people really did petition for this to be removed. So yes, okay, and then that's what I have for you guys today. I Here's the references. If you guys want to check out the references, I know it's very important that we see the facts, and people may be opposed to this video, but these are the facts, and I'm just here to spread the message. And I hope you guys take heed to the information. And if you guys want to learn more about Mary Ann, she was a midwife in Europe, and she was the inventor of the vaginal specula. And medicine is not all bad, and especially if you need it, right? But this is the truth. I'm just here to spread the message, and I love you all, and I hope you guys are having a great week. And I look forward to our new message, our new in depth of the history of medicine on next Tuesday. And be on the lookout for more videos for the universal messages, and more to come on Thursday. Okay. All right. I love you all. Take care. Bye.